What's up, everybody?
Hey.
John Henry, we are back.
We are back.
We are back.
We are back, sir. Let's do it. I'm so excited.
So am I. Listen, we're doing this thing, The Black Man Made Well. And listen, I'm so glad you're joining. I am Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and always in living color with none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, John Henry Scott III.
Not the legend. I'm learning how to be better. I'm just a servant. I'm just very grateful to be here back with round two of The Black Man Made Well, where I'm just telling you the value that it adds,
right.
The nuggets, the tools, the resources, the conversations,
yes.
the enlightenments, the laughs, and occasionally the tears. It's just going to be a good evening. It's going to be a good evening. It's going to be an even better week, Marty.
That's right. Portia Scott and Portia Scott Media. Hello, darling. We got you. Glad you have your coffee in your hand. Listen, share this out to everyone. Tell them how to get involved and definitely get on here. And we want to see your comments. So definitely share if you can definitely get on there. Invite people in the room. We're going to have an amazing conversation tonight. Jerron, what's going on? Yes.
With the plan.
That is, yes, another great therapist. Listen, we are so excited that you are joining us tonight, and we have an exciting next 3 days ahead of us.
Yes. So tonight, let's talk about how we're kicking it off tonight. Tonight, we're going to kick it off with the same panel that we had back in February when we talked about the stigmas. However, the conversation is going to be even more explosive, even more enlightening, even more engaging. You see my alliteration there? With the same panel, but we're really going to be talking about fatherhood. Fatherhood. Tonight, and then talk to the folks about tomorrow, Marty.
Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about the mental health, Black fathers and mental health. As you see, this panel on here is absolutely amazing. We're going to have Thomas Davis, Pernell Bush, Danny Ross, Stefan Lewis, and also Alex Dorsey. We got some heavy hitters, and they are all mental health therapists as we talk about fatherhood. And I love that we're setting up tonight to help debunk a lot of the myths about that. And then on Wednesday night, talk to us about it, John.
And then Wednesday night, I've got this saying that say when the health of the leader is not well, the organization is at risk. But this week, when the health of the father is not well, then I believe that everything that's in their domain can be directly and indirectly impacted. So Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Black fathers and health and wellness, spirit, soul, and body. We've got a great panel set up. We've got Dr. Chris Williams. We've got Gage Henderson, who's a fantastic therapist here with us.
That's right.
At Marcel.
Yes, sir.
We've got Stephen Dolphin, who's a wellness advocate and one of the greatest dads that I know. He's got the proof to prove it. And then also Dr. Sean Stewart, who is no stranger to all things mental health matters.
That's right.
This is going to be a great week, Marty.
I'm excited. I really am excited about this. And with that's your boy. Who?
That's my guy.
That's your guy.
That's my guy.
Yes.
That's
Good evening, Godfrey.
What's
Definitely.
Up,
we are so excited again, and especially about tonight. When we're talking about Black fathers, there's been so many negative stereotypes about Black fathers. Yes, that's it. Dr. Brown is on here. That's right.
Nice. Robert Hicks, thanks for joining, man.
Thank you for joining. Invite other brothers out, and listen, we want the women folk to come out here too, and share.
This is correct.
Yes, because it's when we now help debunk a lot of these negative stereotypes, the power we now have with supporting and really changing the trajectory of fatherhood, especially in our Black community.
Yeah, I think it's just great to not only discover something new, but really just to let it be known what already is.
That's right.
That's right. The key. And so I think that's really what I'm looking forward to tonight and this entire week, Marty.
I agree.
I want to get to the panel.
Let's get to the panel.
Okay. So you can bring them on, boss. Bring them on. Bring them on.
Well, and I love this panel of all the docs. I'm trying to grow up and be a doc. I'm just Marty. When I come and get this panel, limitless. Listen, hey, what's going on, Brother Thomas? But let's bring on first none other. He's a local licensed psychologist, and it was 100 degrees out here today, and I believe this brother got 100 degrees as well to prove it. But I'm so glad to have him back with us.
One of the favorites, right?
That's right. That's right. None other. I'm trying to talk him into eventually coming over, being over here with Marcel Consulting and Mental Health Services, but we're going to pray on that one. With that, none other than Dr. Tristan Webster himself.
Oh man, I would say it again. So these two belong to my wife. These are not mine.
That's good. Dr.
She's
Webster,
the attorney.
That's all right.
How's
Okay.
it going?
Wonderful, man.
Good
to see you.
You all as well. Happy to be here as always.
Good. Happy Juneteenth to you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
And happy belated Father's
And happy
Day.
belated Father's. How's the little one doing?
Oh man, let me tell you. We are in a phase.
Welcome to
How they say
Fatherhood.
it, right? How they say it, right? We are in a phase, and let me tell you something else. Everybody asks for a manual, right? Instruction manual on how to be a parent. So look, I got this right here. We got child development, right? We got cultural nature of human development right here, and we got neuropsychological evaluation of a child. And let me tell you something: none of these are an instruction manual. They don't exist.
Yeah.
Y'all just doing
Dr.
Hail Marys
Webster.
out here.
That's the
Classic
truth, brother.
Dr. Webster style.
That's
Classic Dr. Webster style.
It's going to be a good night.
It's going to be a great night. Let's bring on to that. Listen, we're so glad, all the way from the Bay Area himself, a brilliant man. We know him because he pulled the sheet over him last time. None other than Dr. Jackie Smith himself. Dr.
Listen.
Jackie.
I'm here.
Hey.
Listen, I didn't bring no sheets today.
No more sheets.
I-
No more sheets.
That's a whole nother ministry.
Listen, I done been loosed and set free. I got a throw blanket over here because it might get hot and heavy up in here tonight.
That's
Sheets
great.
might not be the most appropriate thing.
That's so
I understand.
good. Man, happy Juneteenth and happy belated Father's Day, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Definitely. And how are the ladies doing? Because you have a full female house.
I do. My male dog decided to die, so it's just me. And so the ladies are well. The ladies are doing well. My girls took me out, on Saturday, and then my wife convinced me to go out to this, what do you call it? This parade for the Dove Nation.
Yes,
So
go.
I would say, Lord, don't let me get COVID, Jesus. But
Right.
It won't come now. You're dwelling. You can't do it, man.
In these last and evil COVID days
I'm
that we
telling you.
don't you cough? What was that? Also
That's
in the
one
Bay
strike.
Area. Yes. We're so glad to have this gentleman. He's bringing us his new look with us tonight. None other than Dr. Danielle Hill, the educator himself.
Grace and peace, everyone. It's good to see you. So, Jackie, if you don't have the sheet, you know what? It's always the anointing that's in the oil. So, if you got a little bit of oil that'll run down your beard, I promise you'll be covered.
do you want extra virgin or do you want light? What kind do you want?
I want anointing.
It's too early. It's too early.
Well,
Dr.
welcome.
Hill,
Everybody's good to see
happy
everybody.
Juneteenth, sir, and
Thank
happy
you.
belated Father's Day to you also.
And how's your son doing, sir?
Amazing. I was just home this past week, and when kids get a certain age, like he's 7, like he's going on 70 or 71, like he sits and he has courageous conversations with me. Like I took him to Chick-fil-A, and he says, "So, Daddy, I'm not sure if you told me, but when are you planning to come back, or are you sending for me, or what are we doing?" I was like, "Oh, wow." So it was good to have that conversation, with him, because he even understands the answer that I gave him. And he understands that Daddy, he's out here for work. So, he's
Well, you know what
great.
they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And then bringing on next with us, none other than the writer himself, from Joker to King, because we got some Jokers on here
Yes.
tonight.
And some kings.
And some kings. None other than Dr. Robert Dalen Brown. Dr. Brown. Greetings.
Brown.
Greetings.
Hey, man, so good to see you, kind sir.
It's
Happy
good to be here.
Juneteenth and happy belated Father's Day to you as well, kind sir.
Yes, I enjoyed both Juneteenth and Father's Day.
Yes, sir.
They took care of me all weekend.
That's good.
So how many children do we have between us? I've got three.
I have
26.
Uh-huh.
or 25 rather.
Right.
14
Mm-hmm.
and 8.
Mm-hmm.
And you got
I have
many?
3. I have a 31, 24, and 6. Don't judge me.
All right.
Okay, Dr. Brown.
I have 2 boys. I have a goddaughter, and I have a bonus son in love. My
Oh,
wife and I.
wonderful.
Love that.
So
Love
that's
that.
4.
Danielle.
So we're at
I
10.
kind
We're at
of have
10.
I kind of have 2. It's like my son, and then when I was in the high schools, I met this 9th grader that just gave me the blues, and now 20, what? No, not 20, maybe 15 years later, he's still there. So I'll say 2. He's
So we
30.
at 12.
Yes.
Okay.
We at 12.
Okay,
There we
12. We have Dr. Jackie.
I actually have a total of 10.
Ooh,
So
good for you.
you know what? I didn't pump all 10 of them out. So
go.
so I have 2 biological, 2 girls. Let's be very clear about that.
Can we say that on YouTube?
Well,
Yeah.
but then my best friend, who I'm the godfather of all 7 of his children, and let me note that all 7 of his children are by the same woman, and they have been married almost 20 years now.
Come on,
And then I'm currently fathering. Fathering an extended family member through foster care. So a total of 10 right now.
Wonderful. So we're at 22.
Oh my! And then Dr. Webster, he's the newbie of the bunch.
My little guy's 3.
And so Doctor, just one, or he got twins?
Just one. Just
one. So we're at 23. 23. So we got 23 children
between the 6
all
of us. Yes. So we got some. So in other words, we got some experience.
Yes.
We got some experience.
Yes. Ranging from 30 all the way down to, how old is your baby, Dr. Webster?
To 3. Yeah.
3?
3 years old.
Oh
yes.
yeah. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a vibrant discussion.
Yes.
Vibrant discussion.
Yes.
Let's kick it off. Let's kick it off?
Let's go. Go ahead and kick it off.
Here's the first thing. There's a lot of false narratives out there when we start thinking about fatherhood, particularly black fathers.
Yes.
Right? And since this is Black Men Made Well.
That's right.
I think it's important for us
Fathers are important.
debunk a lot of those false narratives and stereotypes that are really often associated with us, whether it be intentional or unintentional. And so I'm going to throw it out to the panel, and let's start with Dr. Hill there. What are some of these stereotypes or false narratives?
That's
and
right.
then let's debunk it as a panel, starting with you,
Love
Dr.
it.
Hill.
Okay. Well, I'm going to use me. I like to just put myself on the platform and not, talk about other people. But for me, some of the stereotypes that I have experienced and or have seen, you're like your no good father. Heard that for so long. That black fathers don't show up. They're not present. I've seen where you're in the house, but you're not really in the house. That we don't know how to show love, or we only show love for beating on somebody. Those stereotypes. That we're all just no good. That I believe thank God I haven't had these challenges, but it's like as if the systems are not built for us. They're always built for the woman, because I don't know why, because maybe they are the mother, but where our rights, I shared a link, for those that are on this call, who might not know your rights, there are actually rights that we have. And so those are myths. That while the system is, there are still some good people who do see fathers as a positive role model. But those are just some of the things that I've heard that, I hope that we can dispel some of them tonight. Some
Most
people
definitely.
can chime in on the chat just to say that, hey, well, I am a good dad.
That's right. That's what we need. All the fathers that say that.
Yeah.
Type in there.
right.
I am a good dad.
That's
I am a good dad. If I had what's sitting in front of my top, I am a good dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's important. That's important. And so let's jump over to you, Dr. Webster. Dr. Webster, when you start thinking about some of the stereotypes, some of the myths, and we're on this quest tonight, early on, to just debunk them.
That's right.
Talk to us, Dr. Webster.
I think probably the biggest myth that's associated with black fatherhood is absenteeism, which
Yes.
I mean, that was covered in a couple of different forms just a moment ago, but like really, I think when people think about Black fatherhood, they picture that the father's just not even in the picture. Period. They don't know where to get out. But I think one probably that isn't thought of too often, but it is something that that I feel like still is one of those unspoken things that kind of belies the social narrative.
Right.
Is and this comes all the way from theories from slave days, that the idea was that Black people did not love their children as much as other races, as much as white people did, right? And that kind of perception still sort of exists in a way now, where there's this idea that Black men do not love their children in the way that other fathers do, or other fathers can. So I think that's a big one that we love to address.
Yeah, that's good. I like to hang out there real quick, right? I want to go over to Dr. Brown, and Dr. Brown, piggybacking on what it is that Dr. Webster just said around this idea of absenteeism, this prevailing belief that Black fathers don't love their children well. And well is subjective based upon whose definition we don't know. But let's have the conversation, fellas.
There are a couple of things. I do want to piggyback on Dr. Webster's comment. I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, this report came out about 75% of children are born, Black children are born to unwed mothers, compared to 28% white women. And this idea that translates to Black fathers are not involved. Black fathers can still be involved whether they're married or not married.
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Put it in the chat.
That myth gets perpetuated through some of the statistics that we are seeing in this media, right?
Right.
But that's number one. Number two, this other idea also exists, that even the Black fathers that are in the household are somehow mentally or socially disengaged. And that is a myth that we have to break as well.
Yes.
The myth of the physically absent father.
That's right.
As well as the myth of the emotionally absent father. Both of those are very dangerous. Very pernicious.
That's so good. That's so good. Good. Dr. Jackie.
Yes,
join
sir.
the conversation, kind sir, staying along that same line, absenteeism and these horrendous myths.
So one of the myths is this perception that Black men can be baby daddies but they can't be fathers.
Come on.
And so he's fine enough for me to be able to lay down and then I get pregnant, but he's not good enough to be able to be a father. When
that's good.
There's the other myth of in order to be a good father, you have to be with the mother of your child. And that's not true, because there are some people, as we know, who are not good together, but they can be fantabulous co-parents.
Come on.
Some of the best co-parenting, that I have seen has been by Black men who may not necessarily be with the mother of their children for whatever reason, but they made a commitment to be present in the life of their child. And so I think that is, one of the myths that, that continues to come up is the myth of, the baby daddy. He's a baby daddy, but he's not a father.
Yeah.
And even that is demeaning.
Absolutely.
In that regards. Can I share some statistics? Because, that I discovered.
Go, boss. Go.
So what I've done, even in the CDC, Center of Disease Control, definitely has been talking about that. I'm going to share these latest statistics as recent as 2020, that Black fathers are just as present and do offer, if not more, than our white, Latino, and other cultural fathers, because they are more involved with dressing their children, bathing their children, combing our daughters' hair, Come on, Jackie. As we're doing those things, yes, and definitely being involved in the schools and some of these other areas. And then they're also showing that 58% of black fathers live with at least one or more of their children. This is from the CDC. These statistics are out there. And also that 53% of black fathers talk to their children about their days at least 3 to 5 times throughout the week. And they're saying that we're not showing up, where the CDC is saying the exact opposite, that black fathers are actually more involved in the lives of their children than their other counterparts. But that's what's not being reported.
Yeah.
So we have the obligation to bring these lights and these numbers up. And I'll send all y'all the website and everything that I got them from.
Yeah.
So I love this. Jerome says black fathers are one of the strongest advocates for their children. They are.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I wonder, you were just giving those stats, but I wonder why is it that, because I would have to say society. Why is it that society, if these stats are correct, which I believe, I mean, a lot of the fellas in my circle, we're super dads, if you will. Why does society hang their hat on this negative stereotype when we do so well?
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that a lot of times it's generational. You know, if my dad wasn't there because his father wasn't there, and so on and so on. But in this present time, as you said, the CDC, or even right now, you know, how is it that we can change that narrative in a large manner so that it's no longer the baby mama and the baby daddy, but it's the children that are being equal with both parents, whether they're in the house or outside of the house?
Yeah,
right.
I will offer for consideration that it's really tied to the exposure and the intake of information.
Yes.
Right. So information, what data, what content do you allow to get in and then form? When it gets in and then it inspires you, so it creates this circular effect. Information gets in, you meditate on it, and then it forms into some type of a belief or a truth. And so to debunk it, we get the facts and the data. But then if you don't want to believe that, things like this, that's why Black Men Made Well is so important.
That's right.
That's why sharing broadcasts like this, that's why being able to, if social media is where they are, then let's post, let's talk about it, let's celebrate what's working, because those become data points, that becomes truthful content that helps to shift the narratives. I have a lot of white colleagues, a lot of white clients and things like this, and they came to me after King Richard came out, and they said, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of the father. I said, don't be proud of me. I've been doing this for 26 years.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's more than, it's plenty of King Richards in the hoods and in the suburbs. You just got to see it. So I believe no one can tell our contributions the way we can. So when we put it out there, let that get inside, and then that begins to form a new beliefs.
Go ahead, Dr. Jack.
Can I just say that, you know, I'm one that believes that all behavior is motivated. And so you know, when we look at the statistics, I ask the question, what is the motivation behind not making this information so readily available or so public the way that we promote other things? And I think that just from a personal place, and this is not me even speaking as a doctor, this is me speaking as a Black man. If I can perpetuate a certain narrative that's going to continue to keep a Black man looking in a negative or being perceived in a negative light, someone benefits from that. Right. And so the question then becomes, who benefits from that? Right? Now, when I hear those statistics, what I hear is the opportunity for other young Black men to hear that, you know what, we're not all stereotypes. We're you know, we're not out there just creating babies and then we're just leaving them you know, to be blown in the wind and so on and so forth. When I hear that, I hear the debunked myth of the Black man is present physically, but also emotionally available to be present with his child.
Yes,
but I also know, you know, from my own lived experience raising, you know, my 2 girls, that I'm very present and emotionally available, you know, for them, because I know the consequences of not being physically present and emotionally available, especially for young Black girls.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating thing, right? There's some generational disconnects between, let's say, our parents' generation and how we serve and how we love our children right now, and even how we connect. In the old days, somebody wrote the song. I can't remember who wrote the song. They say it's cheaper to keep her, you know. And so what would happen
was
is
that Billy
that they
Preston?
was I can't tell it. You know, I'm in my early 40s. But what would happen is that we would stay in a situation that was trash and end up doing more emotional damage for the children. Meaning that we were so stressed and so disconnected that we were physically there, and then you wear that as a badge of honor. And so I want to go back to something that the panel brought up earlier, and it's this idea, along with absenteeism, that doesn't mean that because I'm not in the house, I'm not there for the child. Let's talk about that.
Dr. Webster, I saw your head going up, and then Dr. Brown right after Dr. Webster. I saw both of you. It was like, you're right. The amen corner. But talk to us, Dr. Webster, about that.
I was just really thinking about how all of this really happens on sort of sociological level, and really kind of, things don't move very well without a really good push. And the narrative that's been out there for a really long time has really been about, starting with how these myths really got out there to begin with, which was really centered, I think, when they really got put out there was like in the 80s with the crack epidemic and everything like that, and the war on drugs really putting Black fathers away and really removing them from the picture of the family, right? And there was a lot that rode on trying to make that as the depiction of what Black fathers really were, right? Now, that being kind of like, this is the set of what it is that we want to put out there, trying to move that now to something different takes a lot of effort to really try to create this new picture of what it is that the Black man is, what the Black father is. But we already have this familiarity with this picture, right? We already, through media and different stuff like that, this is the depiction that we've already created. These are the depictions that we expect to see in stories. And when something different comes around, now you have to say, like, wait a second, hold on. What is this? I don't know this story. I'm not comfortable with this, right? And so trying to get depictions, the visibility of the present Black father to change.
That's good.
First, it starts here with really trying to put out their celebrations of Black fathers, trying to get it on a grassroots level, really talking about what it is that we actually do. But at some point, it has to really make it to the level of what is the social narrative around what it looks like to be a Black father.
Love that.
That's really good.
Dr. Brown.
And Dr. Webster, help me out on this if you can, but in my college classes, I talk to my students in the critical thinking class about cognitive dissonance, right? And what that feels like when we are met with information that goes against what we already believe, right? And a couple of things may happen. When you're met with information that goes against what you already believe, you're either going to, push that information back and dig deeper into your own core beliefs, or you're going to find a way to integrate some of that new information into your old beliefs. Now expand that to an entire society, right? We have an entire society that is experiencing this cognitive dissonance. Like Dr. Webster said, we have this narrative that has been going on for decades, for centuries, about what Black men are, what they do. And the truth goes against that narrative. And so now as a society, in our media, in our entertainment, in our policies, in our politics, in our conversations, we're met with that cognitive dissonance. We have to figure out, how do we incorporate what we know to be true with the way that we've been behaving in the past? How do we adjust? How do we bring this truth into our ways of doing things in this society. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Actually, John Henry, I think you said it best. It really goes back to a lot more of this exposure, a lot more of these kind of
Yes.
we go to the people where they are. We go to the social media platforms. We go to the classrooms. We have our conversations over and over and constantly expose the positivity that we know Black
That's
men
it.
exhibit. You know?
Yes. We go to the Juneteenths and all of those type of things,
yeah.
and give a new display. We become the displayers of our own history. Whoever writes history really does control it, and we become the controllers of our not only of our own history, but our own destination of where we're going, and stop waiting for other people to validate us, and we validate each other.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, and it can be sometimes easier said than done, because there's this human need for affirmation. And the question then becomes, where, on this quest to kind of shift the narrative, where does the affirmation come from? Yeah. I would offer for consideration and open this up to the panel and everyone, what is the value of being my brother's keeper and affirming my brother instead of waiting for the affirmation to come from the systematic constructs that exist in our society?
Because they're not going
to come. Much value is there in me looking at my brother and say, man, you are a great father. You a king. Do it, man. How much value is there in that?
I would suggest the value in that is keeping me accountable. It's great to celebrate the highs when we're with our kids, we're taking pictures for the gram and doing that. But what about when you don't do what you're supposed to do? What about when you don't show up? So my brother's keeper for me, whether it's with children or not, I'm my brother's keeper because I keep you accountable. If you say that we're going to start at 7 o'clock, then I hold you to that accountability. But don't get upset with me when I check you on it. That's the piece right there.
Strong,
when I tell you what you should know, but then you get upset at me about it. So the value is really the accountability piece. And then I think the other piece is not only accountability, but just, you said it earlier, being present. You know, we see so much about, Black on Black crime, especially with men. But what about men like us right here? I know that we've said it, but I'm super excited. I'll say it publicly to be back on this panel. I can't speak for the other panels, but this is a pretty dope panel. I went to go look for my dashiki because you all kind of checked me low key. I wanted to be in the number. To be in the number. But it's about being there, being a presence, being there for that person in their good times and their bad times, being there when you don't want to be there, being there when you are kind of sacrificing your own self. So the value is what you give to me. And that's why we have to be very careful when we talk about my brother's keeper, because first you got to be my friend if you're going to keep me.
Okay.
That's a word.
I'm gonna just say right there. But you got to be my friend though, because you can't say that you're going to keep me if you're not my friend. And my friend is what the Bible tells us sticks closer than a brother. Yeah. Now that's Bible. I didn't write that. Jackie, am I right?
You see Dr. Jackie do this.
I don't.
His temple. He did this as his temple, so I saw the wheels turning. Go ahead, Dr. Jackie. We're about to let you loose.
Yeah. You know what comes to mind. I agree with everything that was said, but I'll share from my own lived experience that I was one of those kids who grew up with an absent father. And so what I learned was what I didn't want to be, and what I learned was what I didn't want. But becoming a father also brought about my own issues of grief and loss, right? Yes. Because there's no manual that you have on how to be a good father. What I had was good examples. And so, I look at how I father the same way that I see a patchwork quilt, that it is a piece and a portion from what it is that I've observed of men that I respect. And two men that I highly respect are Dr. Leland Brown, who is my absolute best friend, and his father, the Reverend Charles Edward Brown. And it was vicariously through the example that I saw through Leland and how he interacted with his father, and how his father embraced me, not even knowing me, but just embraced me, right? He made it safe for me to trust men.
That's it. That's it.
He made it safe for me
That's
to
it.
trust Black men. So when we begin to talk about accountability and responsibility, I believe that as a man, and especially as a Black man, it's very difficult for us to respect you if we don't trust you.
That's good. That's
And
good.
so when I think about fatherhood, I think about the accountability and the responsibility. And so when I say that you are my brother's keeper, you can check me and you can correct me because I know that you're doing so with my best interest at heart, because you
Absolutely.
have made it safe for me to be vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah.
But that goes back to what we were talking about in at the beginning, back in February, about creating safe spaces for Black men to be vulnerable. But I can't even let my guard down if I don't have relationship, and that's a whole trust thing. So we've been knowing each other now going on 2 years almost.
Yes, sir.
And we've had this very intimate, now developing this intimate relationship, so that I can trust you. There's been times that you've looked at me and said, "Stop! What's going on with you?" Because your countenance, and there's something different. Because out of that, we only know that because out of relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
And we have to create these spaces, like we're saying, where we can have this safe relationship. I'm with you, Danielle. I love this team right here because we can go dive a little deeper, and we now have the relationship. I know that I can go to Dr. Webster, and he's going to give me some honest, good stuff, and he's going to give me all he's going to take it here first, and then we pass the torch to each other because we're now creating this relationship with each other and trust.
Yeah. Well, it's the idea that connection precedes confiding. I must connect with you before I can confide in you, right? And so if I can connect with you, then the hope is that I can confide in you. It is a dangerous thing to confide in someone where connection hasn't been proven. That's the key, right? And it's not just you make me feel good for a minute, but I need to know.
But how do we connect? And how does the Black father, if like Jackie says, he didn't have a father figure, and then you're right, Brother Robert, that iron does sharpen iron. But what if the blade of what you're trying to get sharpened from is dull or jagged? Growing up in a domestic violent household, I'm like you, Jackie. I knew what I didn't want to be, and those attributes I didn't want to be like my father. But I found that I became, because I focused so hard on that, I became just like him.
Yeah.
And hated myself.
So, Marty, I'm glad you said that, because what I wanted to stick right there is, let's talk about the relationship with our children. And I want to kind of go just from the adolescent child. So you talk about building relationship with them, building trust with them. How and what does that look like, regardless of whether you're in the household or not? I know that my 7-year-old, he knows that he can talk to me about anything and everything, because I can't necessarily say that he's proven it. Like I say that, Marty, you've proven it with me, but because I show up, because I'm attentive, because I care, I'm intentional about the conversations that we have. While we don't live in the same household, I'm intentional about talking with him, asking about who he is, how things are going. And so that's where, for me, that's why we get the trust factor, where he feel like he can share anything with me, because I promise you, if we don't love them the right way, when they get older, the world is going to love them the wrong way, and they're going to believe that that's what true love is. And love is.
Well, that's why we have gangs.
Yeah, exactly. Love is not necessarily about the gifts you give me, but the love is really about intentionality, about showing up, being present in those lives. So I want to make sure that we, if we can, just kind of just park there a little bit, where we talk about that connection with I guess the younger children.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm parenting at all stages, right? 25, 14, and 8. And I'll ping my 25-year-old now, who's now 25. But his mother and I were divorced when he was very young, right? But the idea of getting through his mind that I didn't leave him, I left the marriage. That's the key. And he didn't get that until maybe 10, 15 years later. And he only got it when he was able to look at the archives of my behavior. And the common theme was his daddy was always there. And what I mean by being there is it wasn't just physically being there,
right,
but it was also when I'm there, I'm there. I'm not trying to be nobody pastor. I'm not trying to be nobody boss. I'm not trying to, I am there.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. He didn't expect me to be perfect. When we hit road bumps of him just being a teenager, guess what we did? I don't know if this was a thing, but we went to a daddy son counseling. We sat in therapy because I was determined to understand him and for him to try to understand me. So the same effort that I put into my marriage was the same effort that I put into my relationship with my son. And now he's 25. And after all of those years, the relationship is unbreakable. But it was really I mean, it sounds simple, and I hope that it never becomes cliche-ish, but being there, it matters, man. And being consistent in that regard, no matter what. We know we're going to have other parents, right, who may try to taint things. Your character will override your critics. Don't do it. Just be consistent, because character will override critics. And I'm telling you that because I'm living it right now. The first person my baby called, I call him my baby even though he's almost 26, is his daddy. He's going to call his daddy because he knows his daddy is going to be there, because his daddy has always been there.
Yes. Dr. Brown, I go ahead, Jackie, and then we'll get Dr. Brown.
There was something that you said, John Henry, that really resonated with me. You said I was determined to understand him. And what I translate that into is that you made the relationship with your child a priority. And I think that for those of us who are, who are successful and who are educated, and we may believe that we're doing very, very well, and we may be doing very, very well because we're able to provide. We're able to do a lot of the things that maybe, some fathers were not, able to do. But, my children gave me a dose of humble pie, and I like to say it like this: I had to eat crow, and it was a little dry, and it didn't taste good, but it was the reality. And what I thought about was, it's one thing for me to be physically and emotionally available and present, but if that's not how my children perceive me, then I'm failing as a father, right? And what I mean by that was, my 8-year-old would come home and she would say, Daddy, why you got to work so much? You're always at work. So in my mind, it was, I wanted to make sure that I was setting the right example, that I was prioritizing, making sure that I was meeting, the need. But I also think that perception is important. So my point is, when you mentioned being determined to understand your child, that also, means humbling yourself to be able to get to their level and understanding what's important to them. Because we may have the perception that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, but how is that being received by our children? When I die, there are 3 things that I want my children to be able to say about me: he loved God, he loved my mama, and he loved us.
That's good.
Your legacy.
That's good. Yes. Dr. Brown, you were going to say, I'm sorry.
I was just going to echo a lot of the things that were said already. It is, John Henry, you are hitting it tonight. You got it. It is about being there, and it is about being consistent, and being vulnerable. One of the things I remember back when my oldest son is now graduated from high school, but when he was born in 2004, I was working and making a 2-hour commute. And I had a great job, fantastic environment, and I felt like I wasn't seeing my newborn son. And I made this commitment to myself that when I become a father, my kids are going to be my priority.
That's right.
Then he was born, and I was commuting 2 hours each way. And I remember talking to the supervisor over there and said, this is my last year. I got to quit. Well, what are you going to do? I don't know, but I gotta be with this kid. I made this commitment. And It was tough. It was a struggle. I had to find new work that puts me closer, but I
Right.
made a commitment that I am going to be in this kid's life.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's graduated from high school and going, he's about to take that next step to college, and he's going into his own journey of adulthood.
Right.
You know, he can never, ever, ever say his father wasn't there, because I've been there the
Yeah.
entire time. You know, when his mom and I, we got divorced in 2019, and it was understood by everybody, the kids are coming with me.
Mm. And that's rare.
Talk
And
about that.
it's rare.
That's rare.
It's rare for a father to have full custody of
Right.
kids, but it was one of the things that everyone knew about me before I even became a father. That once I step into this role, it's number one priority. Period.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the things we wanted to talk about was really just like knowing our rights. I think Dr.
Yes.
Keo, you brought it up at the start of our broadcast tonight, but I think it's very important. And there's a link there, Dara, if you can put that back up there, really just about our rights as fathers is to the father. Don't be afraid to go fight for your
That's right.
children.
That's
I
right.
think part of the stereotypes and one of the stigmas is that the child belongs with the mother.
Mom.
That
Mhm.
may not always be
The best.
the case,
Yes.
right? Have we asked the child? Have we considered the child? When I was divorced from my first wife, my son was with her.
Mm-hmm.
But as my son got older, it became very clear
Yes.
that he needed to be with me. And I fought for him. And I didn't want no child support. I didn't want no nothing.
Right.
Because you think, oh, you want my money. I don't want nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But just give me my child
Mm-hmm.
so that I can raise him and train him in the way that he should go. And so I say to the dads out there, know your children, number one. Know your children, because my story isn't a silver bullet. But when you get an opportunity to understand the needs
Right.
of your child, fight like hell, because you'll fight for anything else.
So, okay, so, Brother Jeremy, you're 100% correct. But I got to caution, because when I was reading up on this before we got on the call today, we can be destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And so one of the things that I was reading up on is that not only do we have to know our rights, and I'll give you a couple of what our rights are as fathers, but we have to approach it the correct way. You know, time and time you have seen where, you know, because of the love of my kids, dads are going to go off the handle. They're going to do things the inappropriate way.
Oh, yeah.
We can forfeit
Absolutely.
our rights because of our
Mhm.
behavior. And so they have something called a father's rights attorney that
Mhm.
actually can help you practice that. Now, granted, the probability is that the majority of people, you know, may not. I'll just say fathers may not have those resources to do it, but you got to go about it the right way. But we
100%.
have right. We have the right to child custody. You know, it's not just because you're the baby daddy and she's the mama that it, like you said, that you automatically go with the mother. No, you know, guess what? If it happens, if it goes down, guess what? My kid coming with me, it's going to already be understood. Visitation rights, we have that right.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
But
You don't have to just take what's given. And let me add
because
balance to
precedence
that.
matters.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
let me add balance so nobody don't think your boy was just out here snatching babies up. That's not the case. That's not
Wait a
the
minute, call
case.
DCFS.
That's not the case.
We're going to get Dr. Webster to help us out, right?
I followed the appropriate legal
Right.
protocols.
Right.
I followed the
Right.
appropriate legal protocols. There were lawyers involved, and it took time. Right? Let me add
Yes.
balance. My baby wanted it to happen right away because he didn't understand, Daddy, why I can't just go with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to say, son, it takes time.
I think
But
that
my,
goes-
my point is
Mhm.
fight.
And we cannot flee in those moments because it gets difficult. Because we as men a lot of times has to fight, flight, flee, fawn, the whole thing, and we cannot give up on that because our children need to see us fighting
For them. There
as
you
well,
go.
and that creates the bond. Even though
There
you
you
may
go.
not be present, they understand that emotionally, my daddy is out there fighting for me. My daddy is trying. Go ahead, Dr. Jackie. Yours.
I just have a question for the panel, because it makes me think, you know, the social worker in me says, you know, John Henry, what about What about the father that's listening to us, who has been in the situation where the other partner in the relationship has weaponized the system against them, right? How do they approach this particular situation? Because a lot of times you have fathers who are not allowed to be a part of their children's lives, not because they don't want to be,
That
Right.
part.
because we have some people who have utilized the system the same way that you would utilize a bulldog, and say,
Right.
I'm
Sick
going
'em.
I'm going to call the peoples. So
Yeah.
those of you who have been able to
Yes.
successfully navigate that, what do you
Yes.
say to those individuals?
Yes.
Now, Dr. Jackie, you really are the expert. That's almost like a rhetorical question you are asking us.
Listen, but that's not my lived experience. And here's the thing that I think
Yeah.
that we have to be careful of when we call ourselves experts. We're not experts in all things.
I hear you.
And so I'm asking from the place of, that's not my lived experience.
Right.
I've worked in the system and I understand some things, but I'm listening to Black men who have gone through the process to be able to say, brother, this is what it is that I have done, and this is what has worked for me,
Yeah.
right? Maybe another expert on the panel can answer that question, but I'm sincerely asking because there are oftentimes brothers who are sitting there saying, yeah, but you don't know my situation.
Absolutely. That's so
Yeah.
good.
You don't know what she's tried to do to me, and oh man, I'm not getting involved with I'll just wait till they turn 18 and then I'll tell them what happened.
Yeah. And then there are, and then so I was pretty crystal clean, right? I didn't have
Mine
no.
wasn't
I did.
crystal
I. Well, that's another show. That's
You were
another show.
clothing
That's another
righteousness. You
show.
were clothing
That's
righteousness.
another
That's
show.
what it was.
Well,
Okay.
glory to
However,
God.
that wasn't my lived experience either. I've never had the system weaponized, but I did have the threats. I call the police on you, I'll do these, blah, blah, blah. But you really didn't have nothing against me. At that space, that's where I had to learn a different strategy.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not getting ready to show up because I'm not getting ready to get you locked up
Right.
because you want to mess my whole life up. That's what you really want to do. So I'm not
That's
very well
that's the
versed in
delicate
that.
dance.
Yeah.
Jack, Dr. Smith, what if we took the approach from the child perspective?
Okay.
Because if you want to talk about connection and relationship, I think to the core, that's what would make you to do the two things. And John Henry, you said it. Here's what I would have rather my father do: fight and be consistent and keep fighting. Watch this, because I saw my father. He was one of those, he gets what he wants. He's not gonna let anybody get over on him. It was like, oh no, I'm Michael Hill. This is what you're gonna do. But every time I watched him as I became older, I watched how he never fought against my mother. I really believe, and this is just, I'm going from the child perspective, there are some experiences that I possibly would not have had to experience had my dad fought for me.
Yeah.
So for the father who's listening, if you want to know really what the child feels, keep fighting for them. Don't give up because you feel burned out. You got to go to that 9-hour job, and the baby mama, she's acting crazy. She's gonna keep threatening, and she's gonna do this and do that. Keep fighting, because that can make the difference about how a child feels about you. Our relationship did not get better until I was 36 years old. He died when I was 42, so we didn't even have enough time to build that capacity. But I believe that if he would have fought like he fought for everything else, if he would have stood up to my mother like he did everything else, I believe that our relationship, so somebody who's listening, let your relationship speak for the fight that you do, and that you keep fighting for them, because that matters. Again, if you don't love them the right way, the world will love them the wrong way, and your child is worth fighting for.
Come on. And they remember.
Yes,
They do.
They grow up and they remember.
They do. And we got to look at Dr. Jackie too. I wish I could say that system was set up for us. Here
No,
I
it's
was.
not.
It's not, and I could not be discouraged, because I was even allowed to be a foster parent. I won't name the county that I was, but they did not give me joint custody of my own son. I could raise the county's kids, but could not raise my own son. And that sent me into such a horrible depression. And that's what we don't talk about a lot of times, the depression of the father.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So if you're tuning in, be sure to tune in tomorrow for Black fathers and the
Mental health
component. Absolutely.
But what in that, I could not let that discourage me and not be there, even in the hurt. When I was doing math homework with my son on Zoom or FaceTime or to the McDonald's because I couldn't bring him to my house. And there was many nights we had McDonald's that we spent 3 and 4 hours at the McDonald's practically across the street from his mama's house because she wouldn't let me in that house to do it. And with that and or that I lived across the street from the high school, but I had to go way across town to do that because but I was not going because my son mattered to me.
Come on.
And whatever it took in that regards. Listen, Daryl's in the back telling us that our time is almost, but go ahead.
Can I have one question that we end?
Yes.
It was something that Dr. Hill kind of alluded to, and I want to start with Dr. Webster.
Yes.
Throw it out to the whole panel. And I wrote down that this idea of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to the panel is, what, in your opinion,
That's it.
is the alignment between brotherhood and fatherhood?
Oh, that's good.
What's the alignment between brotherhood and fatherhood? We're experiencing it right now through this medium.
Yes.
But in our own personal day-to-day life, you know, Dr. Hill, when you were talking about hold me accountable and things like that, where is the alignment and what does that look like between brotherhood and fatherhood? I'm interested in hearing from the panel, and then I've got some stories with my own life.
Dr. Webster.
You know, I was kind of thinking during that time, really about what we were talking about. The prompt to that was about the value of kind of getting pull-ups from people around us. I was just thinking, you know, oftentimes I've had this sort of experience in my own parenting, where it's like, because I'm here, I sort of feel like I deserve a participation trophy. You know, it should be something that should be like celebrated or something like that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but participation trophies are like stupid. Like, what's the point of that? You know, unless I really get like the trophy for doing something really special,
MVP.
Be the MVP, exactly, be the MVP of fatherhood. Then like, what's the point, right? You know, and it's this kind of like back and forth sort of deal of like, so what actually is the good enough father? You know, I come from, especially when it comes to parenting type issues. One of the there are a couple of theories that I really lean on, but one of the theorists I lean on the most is D.W. Winnicott. What Winnicott's point was the best thing that you can be is a good enough parent, right? After a certain point, you know, you put all these things on you and expectations, everything like this. But there's a certain point where the best thing that you can be is a good enough parent, and what that means is being present enough that your children can really observe the mistakes that you make, and you know, different stuff like that. But the interaction that you have overall builds the relationship eventually. Shows that you're there consistently. Shows that you're actually safe there together, right? So anyway, I was thinking about all that. What does it actually mean to be the good enough parent? And how do you know when you're actually there? Especially when the kid can't really tell you, because for a long time, the kid can't really tell you. Because even, you know, some of the examples that we're just getting right now, right? It took 15 years to realize, oh, hey, wait a minute. You really were actually there that whole time. Oh, you know, or my kid has speech delay. He can't really say much of anything right now, right? And I'm busy trying to figure out, piece together, like, what do I need to do in order to help out my son right now and get through this really significant challenge, right? Teach him how to communicate at this point where it's really, really vital that he starts figuring it out, you know? All of that type of stuff, even with all this, right? It's still kind of like,
that's good, doctor.
Don't really actually know. What you get is the feedback from those around you, the encouragement from the people around you that say, hey, you know what? Good. I see you doing this. And not just like, oh, yeah, you're there. Good. Really, I see you doing this.
Focus.
Like, that is really amazing. And your kid's really going to value you for that. And that is, I think, first of all, what keeps people on track. Second of all, what kind of keeps people really going. and also really teaches you, it builds that relationship of community that really kind of I'm trying not to get too deep into it because there's a bunch of layers that kind of come from basically when you have a good community, it creates this entire infrastructure around the individual that really changes the way that the kid really grows up. And so I think that's the most concise way that I can say that has this big ripple effect to how the kid ends up growing up. So
amazing.
There's a million words to say, it is really critical to make sure that you're there for the people around you, really to say specifically, this is what you're doing right. Keep going.
Wonderful. Wow. 1 minute each, right? Before the man on the back starts fussing at us.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're wonderful. Let's go to Dr. Brown.
Dr. Brown.
The question at hand was the connection between brotherhood and fatherhood and this idea of accountability and being our brother's keeper. Go.
Well, being a father, I'm teaching my kids what a man looks like. I have 5 brothers. I'm the oldest of 6 boys. One of the other things I'm doing with my brothers is I'm teaching them what a brother looks like. And it's easy to show up for our brothers when we're celebrating their achievements. When a brother is knocked down and they're struggling, and the way that you show up for that brother, you're showing that love. You're showing that love in that most vulnerable time in his life, right? And that's the same thing we do with our kids. Some of the things that we do with our brothers, we also need to do with our children. We show up for our kids. We show up for our brothers. We show them what vulnerability looks like. So that they can be vulnerable, so that they can live in their emotional wholeness,
Right.
So there's a lot of similarity with both of those hoods, brotherhood and fatherhood.
Excellent.
I love it. Similarities in the hood.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump to Dr. Jackie.
So what comes to my mind is the thread that I think weaves both brotherhood and fatherhood together is connection and attachment. We have some people who are connected to everything, but ain't attached to nothing. And so in order to have a strong relationship, you have to have a level of connection, but you also have that attachment, right?
Yes.
And so we understand that attachment is a lifelong bond that people share, but it does come and it's birthed out of vulnerability, right? Vulnerability is also the birthplace of some of the most beautiful things that we experience, in life, because it requires us to open ourselves up to what we can't predict and what we can't control, right? And so I think that what I'm learning as a father is that it's not enough for me to just be connected with my children. I have to facilitate that attachment, right? And the way that I facilitate that attachment is giving of my time, giving of myself, but also sitting in a quiet place and letting them tell me who they are. So when we talk about brotherhood and fatherhood, I would say connection and attachment.
Wonderful.
Love that.
All right. And then the one and only Dr. Hill.
So a couple of things came to my mind when you talk about the accountability and the alignment between brotherhood and fatherhood. I believe it's a behavior modification. And I think about one, as I stated before, with my brotherhoods, I'll demonstrate a fatherhood attribute, but it's for my brother that I can transfer into my fatherhood. That is first accountability, behavior modification. How do I help you with changes? And behavior is not always a bad thing. Being present. There's so many distractions in life that may not afford me the opportunity to really be my brother's keeper, i.e., or as with our children, because there are so many things that can happen, but being intentional about being present. And then deposit things of affirmation. So it doesn't take anything away from me as my brother's keeper to tell you, John Henry, I love you. I'll protect you. I got you. We'll get through this together. If you can take those things and transfer them into your children, I believe that clear path of alignment will make the journey so much easier. And before you realize it, you've become the best dad that you can be. There is no greater dad, less than or greater than. You can do what you can do in your space, but these are just some small things that will find that alignment that you will have solid relationships with your brothers as well as your children.
I think that's great.
Love that.
That's great.
John Henry, same question.
Yeah, I was sitting and I was thinking what I've seen across the board that has had a transversal impact in brotherhood and fatherhood is honesty, and honesty in the trial and honesty in the triumph, right? Not compromising either. And I think it's goes both ways. Is that I will be honest to you in the trial and in the triumph, accountability, but I will also be honest with you. So it's not just me pointing the finger at you. I am also going to bring my full self to my brother and to my child. My son and I were having a conversation just yesterday about our therapist. He's on his journey. I'm on my journey. And I'm saying this is what daddy was doing. I go first. I'm the daddy. Right. I set the stage by letting him know, by being honest in the trial and in the triumph. And that's something I do with my brothers, and it's something that I do with my children as well.
Love that. Love that. And I would just even say that we have to continue to create these safe spaces just like this to have these conversations in brotherhood and in fatherhood. And creating these safe spaces that we don't have to always agree. We can agree to disagree, but still agree to love each other.
Yes.
And that's what. Listen, I cannot thank gentlemen you enough for coming on and coming back, and definitely this is not the end. We always say that we're going to be coming back again.
Absolutely.
And doing this because this panel has always been so amazing and great with us. So glad that you're on here, and we thank you guys. So welcome back so much.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great week.
It's going to be a great week.
So we're just getting started. We come out of the gate Monday with heavy hitters.
Right.
Tomorrow, Marty, what are we talking about
tomorrow? Again, we're talking about the mental health of Black fathers with, again, this amazing panel here. And we are so excited to have them with us. We've got some brothers from the East Coast and down south that's going to be joining us. And as you said, the Pink Panther himself is going to be back. Purnell, we can't wait to have you on here. But listen, we thank you. Listen, those of you who are out there, please like, share, subscribe. Definitely get this out here and definitely share this with other fathers as we're going. We like to be mindful of the time with that. Real quick, Dr. Webster, how can we find you? Dr. Brown, how can we find you? Dr. Hill, and then, of course, Dr. Smith. How can we find you real quick? And Daryl, Mac in the back, we're going to be done after that.
I think for me, still keep an eye out on Psychology Today. Hopefully, I will have my practice going sometime soon, and once it's there, it will be up there.
Love it, love it, love it. Dr. Brown.
Well, you can always type my name, robertdalenbrown.com, and that'll lead you to me. Just to let you all know, my wife, Dr. Selena Gray, and we are launching our new practice next month, Brown and Gray Healing.
Yes.
.com. So you can just go to brownandgray.com, and you'll find us there, and you can see what we're all about.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Dr. Hill.
You can find me on Facebook, Danielle Hill.
Love it. And Dr. Smith.
I am one person, but I'm like a church in 3 locations. You can find me on you can find me at smithlcsw.com. You can find me on Psychology Today under Hope Springs Counseling and Consulting. And you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Jackie. But we are one church in 3 locations, and all are welcome. As long as you're able to get that, or I take your insurance.
Wait, Pastor, I was going to say, how do we give you an offer? But I see it through your insurance. All right, one person.
Yes. Listen, we take cash because cash is what? King.
We don't take checks by faith. We don't.
No, sir. No, sir.
No.
Run that through. Anyway,
So
Dr. Scott, Dr. Scott.
So funny. Yeah, you can check me out. If you Google me, you ain't gonna get nothing but preaching sermons, So That's gonna be the first thing that come up.
You're a good community. Then. You got 3 churches to go visit.
No.
One is more than enough.
Or you go to my company website, www.chart2heart.com, coach and engagement firm. If you got a company that's going through massive growth, if you got a company that's in trouble, or if you just want to take your leadership to the next level, reach out to Chart to Heart. We're pretty decent at what we do. Would you say so?
Yeah, all right with me.
No, we cold with it. We cold with it. We cold with it.
Love it. And again, we want you to check us out. Listen, we're here in their corporate office at Marcel Consulting and Mental Health Services, but also mentalhealthmarty.com. We're so grateful for that. We cannot thank you guys enough and for being with us. And thank you. One day we're going to be able to pay y'all $1,000 checks each. You know, we say that. We gonna get there. But we appreciate you. Much love to these amazing doctors.
Absolutely.
and yes, round of applause. Listen, this has been I never want to underestimate and undersell the value of this panel right here. Y'all, we have it. They're amazing. They do this because they love what they do and loving the cause. And we in our community have to stop wanting the Holy Ghost hookup. But we pay for everything else. But let's pay for great, brilliant minds such as these. He better not get that shawl as these.
Don't.
I can't.
Please get the usher. We need the usher.
These brilliant minds. Listen, we love you. We'll see you tomorrow night at same time, same back channel. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow night for Black Fathers and Mental Health. Kick us out, Daryl.